You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
It's Later with Mo Kelly. We're live on YouTube, Instagram, and the iHeartRadio app. It is Tuesday evening at 9 o'clock, so you know what that means. That means that Nick Poliokini joins us in studio. You can see him right now on our YouTube and Instagram lives. Nick, what the hell is up? How you been?
Oh, dude, I've been amazing. It has been crazy. I had Savannah Bananas last week with Disney and so much going on. And then here we are in Pride Month. As you can see, if you're following us on YouTube, Mr. Mo Kelly, I've got my Disney Pride gear on. And yes, if you like it or not, you're going to hear about it all month long because there's stuff that's going on all month. So, but first of all, I want to jump into what's going on. And this is specifically for the lovely lady to my right, Carnisha, because this is something she's very excited about. But it's something that both Mo and I have done in the past, but it's been quite some time. The BET experience is happening and taking over downtown LA Thursday through Sunday this week. So if it's something that you're looking forward to, if there's some show you enjoy on BET, if there's a personality from it, it's all going down. And the best part is I'm starting out with something that's free 99. All you have to do is log on to BET.com and look for the BET Experience link, and then you sign up and you're able to enjoy FanFest Thursday through Sunday, but specifically Saturday and Sunday are going to be the busiest time periods with the most interactions with music guests and TV shows and everything else. So it's a lot of fun, and it's something that is unique. And I love that it always seems to come back to LA year after year. So I think that that's a big thing for me, music-wise, talent-wise, very much a big part of the Southland. So I mean, that's for me. I love it. I think it's a good time. I think it's worth everybody going and checking out. So
we're going to try to get Carnisha there.
I know that I was literally walking her through. I'm like, here's the contacts. Here's the media people. Yeah. We're going to make this happen.
I have no desire to be there, but knock yourself out, Carnisha.
Well, and I also, I was going to say, but I would love if Carnisha became a junior field reporter, and then she can roll along with me to some of the events that I go to.
Take her under your wing.
I will. I absolutely will. 110%. The problem is I'm already spoken for this weekend, or else I would totally jump on it. But it's a good time. I can't complain.
What else you got?
I got the Skirball Cultural Center. So if you're familiar with Skirball Cultural Center, it's kind of in the akin to Getty Center and everything. It's over on that side of town, but it's specifically beginning late night at the Skirball. So Nobody Puts Baby in the Corner, and their opening night event is happening this Friday, and it's going to be Dirty Dancing as the featured film. But it's one of those moments where, it says the Santa Monica Mountains transform into the Catskills. So if you're familiar with Dirty Dancing, exactly. So Nobody Puts Baby in the Corner, but everything is retro inspired for this Friday night event. Starts at 6 o'clock till 10:30, and it is 50s and 60s resort wear is encouraged. So if you need to do a little bit of homework, check out Dirty Dancing on YouTube, and you too can live your Patrick Swayze dreams here in Southern California. Also, we've got in the Exposition Park area, so North National History Museum for LA County. If you've not been there, I've talked about it many, many times. This is where they have both the butterfly pavilion, which then feeds the spider pavilion when we get a little closer to my birthday for Halloween. But National History Museum is really worthwhile. And then this is First Fridays 2025 amplified. So it's going to be live DJs. They have, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm familiar with what a sound bath is. I don't specifically know what this one is, but that's usually when you would go in and it's meditative and you've got music and you've got drums and bells and all the fun gongs. But the event theme is going to be music and the mind. What does listening to music do to your mind and well-being? What has changed in the way we listen to music, and what does it mean for society, and what are the social and personal benefits of listening to music? It is very music heavy, and there will be all sorts of DJs, cocktails, sound baths, you name it. All the details can be found at nhm.org, nationalhistorymuseum.org, or you can check out the link in bio at Nick Poliokini or This Weekend with Nick on social media. So, but the thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to do it a little bit early because I want to encourage you, and I've talked about this with all the Disneyland After Dark events. So Disneyland After Dark this year is going to be in it's going to be odd, a little bit odd, because usually they do their After Dark events on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. For this one, it's going to be a Monday and a Wednesday. So I'm glad, because normally I would have to have somebody sub in for me on a Tuesday, but I get to be here with you. So that's always a good thing.
We appreciate
So I'll actually be coming straight from that event, because I will be live at Disneyland After Dark Pride Nights, both on Monday, the 16th of June and Wednesday, the 18th of June. Now, whether you're part of this community or not, I want you to go. And this is why, because we've talked about it and we'll talk about it again. All the attractions are open. all the wait times are walk on. So even if you're not specifically there for the Alphabet, to be a part of the Alphabet Mafia or a supporter of it, you can go and really, for $169, which is not cheap, but you can get walk on to all the attractions.
You really called it the Alphabet Mafia.
Oh yeah, Alphabet Mafia, LGBTQIA+. No, because that's the way, because it's always, you want something, everybody wants to have a cool name. And going through 9 letters.
I get it now.
Stefan, I love you.
I thought it was a real thing. Oh my God.
I mean, it is a real thing, but it comes from LGBTQIA+.
My sweet innocent boy.
I know. Everybody, how pretty is Stefan?
Thank you.
Yes, and I see a lot of people in the chat right now that are talking about magic key holders. There is actually special activations at the event. Any of the Disneyland After Dark, if you're a magic key holder, which is the title given to annual pass holders now at the Disneyland Resort, you can get a lot of extra swag, and they usually have extra photo ops. You get character interactions exclusively for you. So if that's something that you're into, definitely worth checking out. But I will be there. And the thing I love, it's parades, it's music, it's community, it's camaraderie, but it's also seeing Disney in a very different light. And I think it's because there's a good amount of Alphabet Mafia members that are cast members at the Disneyland Resort. So this is something that has only been happening last few years, and it's something that's brand new and was really earth-shattering when it comes to the world of Disney, because there's a lot of LGBTQIA+ representation behind the scenes, backstage, but this was able to bring them front and center and really give them an opportunity to shine and celebrate diversity and what makes those cast members and the Disneyland Resort as part of the Walt Disney Company so specifically unique. So if you got it, it's well worth it to check it out. And if you go, I definitely want you to find me and take some pictures and snap that. You can always find out my location pretty quickly by following Nick Poliokini or This Weekend with Nick on social media, because I usually try my best to keep up as quickly as I possibly can. But it's a good time. It's well worth it. And we're in June, which is Pride Month, and it's crazy to think that we're already halfway through the year
already.
I hate to be that like.
I'm sorry, this year has already felt like 45 months.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So that's for me, because I don't want to be the usual news anchor like, oh my gosh, can you believe it's
already June?
Wow. But really, like you said, it feels like we lived through 45 years in 6 months. So it's both, wow, it's June, and wow,
it's June.
It's June. But there's a lot going on this month, and I've got a lot more to fill you in on.
It's Later with Mo Kelly. We have Nick Poliokini joining us in studio. He's telling us what he's up to these days, and maybe you can join him. You can find him this weekend. This weekend with Nick on social media. Also, Nick Poliokini. One leads to the other. So if you can't get the last name easily, if you aren't pulling it straight off of the chat from YouTube, well, shame on you, because you need to check out Mr. Mo Kelly and experience YouTube and experience this show specifically like no other show here on KFI can be experienced. Yeah, hang out with the Mo Migos in Motown.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Nick Poliokini. What's up with Nick is on to tell us all what he do. Nick Poliokini. What's up with Nick is on with free 99 for you. Nick Poliokini. What's up with Nick is on to give us fun things to do around SoCal. What's up with Nick is on with Mo Kelly and his crew.
KFI, it's Later with Mo Kelly. We're still live on YouTube. Make sure that you sign up at Mr. Mo Kelly, subscribe and like, or you can check us out on Instagram. You can subscribe and like at Mr. Mo Kelly. Nick Poliokini, take it away.
Yes. What is it? Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe.
Follow, like, and subscribe.
That's all the things. Make sure you got them all. This past weekend, if you were familiar, it was West Hollywood Pride. So that means Santa Monica Boulevard. If you're heading through West Hollywood, that was shut down. It was a new entity, if you will. So I'm going to talk about what's coming up this weekend, which is the 55th annual LA Pride Parade and Festival in Hollywood. West Hollywood, a few years ago, split off and started doing their own thing when LA officially moved their celebration with Christopher Street West to Hollywood Boulevard. So the reason that I bring this up, it's free 99. It's a great way to be out and about in the community, and the diversity that you experience there, whether you're a member of the Alphabet Mafia or a supporter or whatever, there is a lot going on, and especially for the entire month. So I will be popping in and out of a lot of different events where these will be happening. You can see that at Nick Poliokini This Weekend with Nick on Instagram. But this weekend specifically, it's the 55th annual LA Pride Parade, and it is such a unique experience. I know that iHeartRadio will be there I will not, because I'm not part of the family anymore. But I did walk in the parade last year with my husband, and it was incredible. But it's a really great time because Hollywood Boulevard, we see it shut down in front of the TCL Chinese Theater and also what is now called Ovation Hollywood all the time from premieres, where this is something that we're very, very used to. This is one of the few times that more than that, from Highland to Cahuenga Boulevard, are shut down along Hollywood Boulevard. So starting at Hollywood, Ovation Hollywood, and then continuing down Hollywood Boulevard, heading east over toward the 101, it's shut down. And that only happens at this point in time twice a year for the Hollywood Christmas Parade and for LA Pride. So it's a very, very interesting experience because Pride here in LA, while it may be associated with the Alphabet Mafia, is very much LA Pride. Pride in the city of Los Angeles and the county of Los Angeles, and the diversity that we have. And I think that's the biggest point for me to hit, is to kind of hit home for you, is it's worth getting out there. It's free 99. It costs you nothing but some of your time, but it's a great time to get out there and experience your neighbors and be able to meet people from different communities. Also, there's so many additional things that are going on. I will be at the Dodgers game on the 13th, Friday the 13th, which is pretty wild because it's our only Friday the 13th of the year. But I'll be...
Only you would know that.
Well, yeah, because, you know...
You're Mr. Halloween.
Mr. Halloween. I was like, 31 is my inverse for my birthday.
Right.
So... but yeah, so I'll be at Dodger Stadium. I will also be at Universal Studios because they have a couple of Pride events that are going on. But I really want to encourage you to find ways, especially since we're officially getting into summer. I know I've had quite a few graduations that I've attended. I've got a couple more that are still on the docket, but, there's so much going on in the Southland, and I really, really want to encourage you to get out there and experience things that are going on in your backyard. That's why I'm here. That's why I love coming in here. That's where This Weekend with Nick came from, back when Later with Mo Kelly first had its inaugural inaugural year. But it really gives you an opportunity to get out there and get to know your neighbors. And it's not just the people that you live next door to, not just the people that you share a wall or a fence with, but people that are just in the general community, because it's wild to think how many connections can be made when you're just getting out there with it. And I think that's it. We don't have, if you're part of a church community, it's incredible. You have fiestas, you have, the church carnival, whatever, but so much, as you were talking about earlier in the show, Mo, things have changed culturally, how we interact with people. And so having these large events where we're able to get together, especially with no cover charge. I mean, people go to Coachella, people go to Stagecoach, they drop hundreds of thousands, but that's what I'm saying, like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Here, this past weekend, West Hollywood Pride has become Out Loud, which is a music festival. They had many name acts. Lizzo anchored Saturday, and I forget who anchored Sunday, and then you'll also have music acts that'll be performing this weekend. And it's a great way for you to get out, but
costs a lot less.
A lot less. And that's my biggest thing. You don't have that overhead. And so all it does is cost time. And I think that's the most important thing. Going back to the National History Museum for their first Friday, that does cost admission. I think it's $18 to get in. But there's other times where you can support the Natural History Museum, which is part of the museums down at Exposition Park, and then you get to go for free. And then you get a tax write-off. Free 99. But no, you get a tax write-off as well. So I think that's the biggest thing. Summer is here, even though we had the weird torrential downpour today. June gloom definitely made its, self-known. Get out, try things. There's so much happening. Again, a great resource, myself, Nick Poliokini, This Week with Nick. The link in bio has details for you, but just give it a quick Google. Because even with Carnation and I, we were looking at the BET Experience stuff when we were on break, and just all the things that you can get into and enjoy and experience. Wow, that's great. You can see my social media on at Mr. Mo Kelly on YouTube right now. So if you don't know how to spell Nick Poliokini,
look at that handsome dude.
I was going to say, I love this. Is this Inception? Where I'm like, this way.
You have to go that way.
If you go that way.
Yeah. Point the other direction.
There you go. Like, follow, subscribe. But anyway, always a pleasure to be a part of Later with Mo Kelly and come in here because, I don't know, beyond, and especially with YouTube now with the chat room, there's such a different level of interaction. This is that community I'm talking about.
You got to go to the Motown chat, hang out with the Mo Migos. For example, Nick Poliokini, he's not going to leave immediately. He will be able to hang out in the chat with you. So if you have questions, you want to ask him, you want to follow up with something he told you about or shared, you can do that. You can't do that with other shows. That's why we're here for you. There's a video interactive component to this, and we're building our own community right here, and everyone is welcome.
And we love it. And because of that, this is definitely the place for you to be Monday through Friday, 7 to 10 p.m., but especially at 9 o'clock on Tuesdays, because that's when I get invited in the house.
Is that when you come in? I never
Allegedly.
looked at the clock. Okay.
Yeah, something like that. Well, if you tune in tonight, I've been running my mouth from a microphone in another room. From the beginning. Like, excuse me, sir, if you don't mind.
Who is this disembodied voice?
I wouldn't be upset if I became the voice of KFI, but that's a whole different ballgame. So
you were asked before you go, do you have Snapchat?
I do have Snapchat. Nick Poliokini. Nick Poliokini on Snapchat. I have TikTok as well. Nick Poliokini this week. I went Nick. Also, if you're into food, 15-Minute Foodie is where all that content ends up. So all these events that I go to, food events and activities I talk about, even the things that we do here in studio. So when we had our Pickle Fest a few weeks back and all the different dill flavored pickled stuff from Popeyes. And then also you'll be able to check, let's see, TikTok, Snapchat, everything's there. Slide into my DMs. I'm available. And I think that's a bigger thing that I talk about a lot, but don't get as much feedback is if you have someplace you want me to go check out, if there's something in the community that's coming up, I've talked about it before, but that's how I became involved with the Garden Grove Strawberry Festival was because they reached out and just said they wanted to have people come. And that again has already passed as Memorial Day weekend, but it's a free 99 event. So of course that's on the top of my list of things that we want to do, but being able to be out there and support. And I cover everything from San Diego and the border all the way straight up through Santa Barbara. So, if somebody wants to invite me and pay for me to go out beyond that,
and kind
I'm
of
more than happy to.
Into the state as well.
Of course, east into the state, the Inland Empire always is. When you're born and bred in the Inland Empire and you live a mile from a liquor store, a meth lab, and a drug dealer.
What are you trying to say?
I'm just saying, that's how I grew up. Altaloma Ranch Cucamonga, that whole back in the day thing. But I'm just saying that is specific to IE. If you were an 80s and 90s kid, especially growing up out that way.
Yeah, before the migration.
Exactly. And then, once the movie Next Friday hit and all those beautiful track homes came in, it was a different ball game, but I am well before all that. So, and if you're in the chat, you know exactly where I'm from because I literally went through my entire resume. So huge, and not to be from another show, but huge shout out to everybody in the chat because I'm always available and I like to pop in here during the week. And I think this is such a cool and unique space to experience things, to learn things, to hear things, but then to be able to observe them, that's even cooler. So, we're bringing that whole new element to radio.
You want to hang around for a bit?
I would love
to. Let's talk about some Mark Hamill and his future or lack thereof in Star Wars.
Yes, I already started this conversation in the chat. So, yes, I got thoughts.
It's Later with Mo Kelly. We're still live on YouTube, Instagram, and of course, we're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
It's Later with Mo Kelly. We're live everywhere on YouTube, Instagram, and the iHeartRadio app. And I was a kid who went to see Star Wars in 1977. I think it was like maybe in the first week or two. I know I wasn't waiting in one of those long lines. But I went with my father, went with my mother's father, maternal grandfather. Had a great time. It was a great bonding day. 3 generations. I remember we went out to eat, saw it was also some other friends of the family. And from then on, since 1977, I have been a Star Wars fan. And if you've seen what was later then called Episode 4, A New Hope, it wasn't called that originally. It was just Star Wars when it first came out. You saw that the star of Star Wars was Mark Hamill, who played Luke Skywalker. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but that's how long Mark Hamill has been associated with all things Star Wars since 1977, since the beginning. And there was a question of since they killed off Luke Skywalker, sorry, spoiler, in the movie The Last Jedi.
Thank you, spoiler alert.
Well, it was a trash-ass movie. It just was. In The Last Jedi, there has been this ongoing discussion as far as, well, might you Mark Hamill play a role in the next trilogy of Star Wars, which has been announced?
You think of me as a Jedi, don't you?
No, I
That's
think
a slip of the tongue, very revealing.
No, I think of you as an Ewok.
I think not.
How hairy are you, Mark?
Not at all.
Okay.
But thanks for asking.
You're welcome. I know the chat would like to know, so.
Yeah, Mark Ronner has a
Okay, let's not get
quick
sidetracked.
digression.
No. Stay on topic. Stay on topic.
Stay on target. You're too close. Stay on target.
It's a trap.
Loosen up. Those are lines from Star Wars. Anyhow, the question was whether Mark Hamill had any future with the franchise, because there is another trilogy which is going to be made. I can say firmly and confidently, I probably won't watch it. Something's going to have to change for me to watch it, because episodes 8 and 9 specifically, I thought were so bad and so divorced from everything which made Star Wars enjoyable. Not only did they miss the opportunity to get the gang back together one last time, the whole point of having these subsequent trilogies and you bring back the legacy characters is you have them for the nostalgia's sake, and people who are fans like me since 1977 can have one last hurrah. There was no reason why none of the principal characters ever met each other or saw each other in the new trilogy. Luke and Leia never saw each other. They communicated via the Force, but they never were in each other's presence. You didn't have Lando Calrissian and Leia ever interact with each other. You didn't have Lando interact with any of the original characters. You kill off Han in episode 7, and he didn't interact with anyone except for Leia, and that was only in passing, like one scene.
Also, the worst death of any major character since maybe Captain Kirk's crap death in that Next Generation movie. Awful,
that was bad.
Awful and disappointing.
And I think the way they killed off all the legacy characters, including Leia, was just so disrespectful. It's almost like Rian Johnson and then J.J. Abrams in episode 9. They did not care. They just wanted to hurry up and get to the newer, younger characters. And the whole point is you have to bring along the older generation with them. And instead, they decided to just cut out the old characters. And then they literally said in episode 8, kill the past. And it's like, okay, we got it. You're trying to move forward, but you also have to hand the baton. You just don't just have them leave the older characters, and they did not do them any justice. I say all that to say, I think that's part of the reason why Mark Hamill made it very clear that he does not see any future for himself in the future Star Wars movies. Well, if they killed him off, how could he be in the future? Well, if you know Star Wars, he could have been a Force ghost. There are ways that he could have been part of subsequent movies, but he made it very clear. He's done, and this is not the Star Wars that he originally was part of. What would you say?
No, I agree with you on all that. And I was going to say specifically, we're in such a unique world where I would like him to be a part of it. But then being a Disney person and having that part of the whole canon now, you literally had Luke show up at Galaxy's Edge, which didn't do anything with the storylines.
Nope.
But the bigger question, which I have specifically with Mark Hamill, is, so what does that mean for the future of the franchise? And in the world of AI and CGI, I want him there, but do we need him there?
Well, there's a whole different question, because in the way that James Earl Jones signed off on the use of his voice for future Star Wars properties, I don't know if there's any conversation which is being had with Mark Hamill right now to use Luke Skywalker and his voice from the previous movies as opposed to Sebastian Stan.
Sure.
To keep Luke alive in some form later on.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's where I'm coming from, is like, obviously, if it's something we've seen historically, and how many in the newer films, in the more recent films, have they already gone back to show those images? So that's fine. That was already part of it. But what's happening moving forward is exactly what you're saying. So
I get the sense from what I know, they're trying to move beyond the Skywalker telling of the story. That's fine, but they had so many options and choices where they could have gone on after the Skywalkers and the Legends novels and what have you, that they just overlooked and decided to go against. I don't know if I can trust Disney/Star Wars to tell a good, authentic Star Wars story in the vein of what we've seen in The Mandalorian, in the vein of what we've seen in some of the good series, but not in the movies. I don't know how good Mandalorian and Grogu is going to be as a movie.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was my next question, is what do you think about that? Because these standalones have not been terrible per se that we've had.
But the problem is they're still within the Skywalker timeline.
Right, exactly. That, and I was going to say, and even when I've talked about the new projection show that's at Black Spire Outpost, it's based on the Skywalker saga. So everything is tied back into it, even in these physical representations of the properties. It's all tied back into that specific timeline still.
And Grogu, if you know anything about The Mandalorian, takes place in this very tiny period. And we know that Grogu did not exist in the subsequent movies. Right. So his character and story has to end somehow, some way.
Correct.
You can't really build upon unless you're going to spin him off into a different portion of the universe or something. And he's completely disconnected from what we know as the Battle of Yavin and everything which happened after that.
I do have to say the only thing that I am genuinely, and don't forget I'm a big Disney fan, but the only thing I'm genuinely concerned about is Disney and a lot of major companies go through and change things. So just like with your whole description there, who's to say they're not going to put Grogu in the back of some scene in one of the previous films?
On RetroCon.
Correct. So that's, and I only say that because it has happened enough that it is concerning to me, because I like things to be left the way they are because I enjoy history. And then you have these new additions.
No, they have done it, and I'll give you a very specific example of it being done before we go to break. In the movie The Phantom Menace,
yes,
which was the first prequel, it came out, it happened, and then many years later, they retconned a scene and put a very popular Jedi, Quinlan Vos, in a scene.
Correct.
They physically just put him in a scene that he never was in, so they could spin off other stories and point it back to that moment in 100%. The Phantom Menace, which never happened.
Exactly. So, that's a perfect example. And I'm genuinely concerned because it's not just this franchise that has seen this happen, but that's even, if we want to go to the other major thing that has been added to Disney, Marvel, I guarantee something. Well, we've already seen a couple things happen down that path on that side of the world, but yeah, specific to it. I'm curious to see what happens.
Can we just clear one thing up? Did Luke die of some kind of forced chronic fatigue syndrome?
Yeah, he had a force stroke.
Yeah, that was the lamest thing I've ever seen.
He overexerted himself.
Right.
And then he just faded away. You robbed the fans at every opportunity. Not only did you rob, they set up The Force Awakens where you had this ultimate evil or semi-ultimate evil with Snoke. And you had the ultimate good that the new rebels were looking for. Right. And Luke, he was somewhere around the galaxy, and they never paid it off. They killed off Snoke. They killed off Luke, and the two never met. How is that even possible?
Yeah, Luke had long COVID or something.
And you go through this long montage of bringing him back into the Force, and he doesn't do anything except mentally psych out Ben Solo.
Oh, it's such a waste. All three of those movies were huge disappointments to me. There are good things in them, but not very much.
Fair enough. Yeah, good things in them, but as a body of work, no.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Before we get out of here is basically an addendum to a final thought I had last week because there's now new information. It goes a little something like this. It can be said that you have fewer and fewer true friends as you age. I can attest to this. But nonetheless, there are limits to friendship. Age and wisdom don't make you omniscient or knowledgeable about the sexual habits of your friends. I know, crazy, right? You don't know what goes on in anyone's bedroom. No matter how long you might have been friends with them or party with them, you don't know what they've done, what they're doing, what they're capable of doing. Nick Poliokini put it best to me off air tonight. Somebody's yuck is somebody else's yum, and vice versa. Something like that. But you don't know what that is necessarily for anyone, regardless of how long you may have been friends with someone. In fact, it's not uncommon that couples who have been married for decades are unaware of their partner's secret lives, infidelity, or time spent outside their presence. Actor Leon Isaac Kennedy has come out in support of friend of 60 years, Smokey Robinson, calling the allegations against him preposterous. Leon Isaac Kennedy is best known for being Jane Kennedy's husband and also the actor in the Penitentiary movies as the boxer Too Sweet. I know, that's a deep dive. Hold on to that for name that movie cult classic. But I digress. In his 43-minute posted commentary today, Kennedy spoke to the attorneys on both sides of the issue and detailed his long and close relationship and history with Smokey Robinson. His friendship is admirable, and his desire to serve as a character witness understandable. But until and unless Kennedy can offer direct testimony to contradict the allegations against Robinson, Kennedy is, respectfully, irrelevant. Unless Kennedy can attest that he was a witness to one, some, or any of the alleged sexual assaults, he can't speak on anything other than that he and Smokey Robinson are close friends and nothing else. But Kennedy used his 43 minutes to try to deconstruct and delegitimize the accusations against Robinson.
Jane Doe was raped in this blue bedroom 7 times. Let me state that these women were not in the house singularly working. There were usually 2 or 3 working simultaneously.
Obviously, the women all worked together. Some of their shifts did overlap.
So there was always an overlap. So now, if you were raped in this blue bedroom one time, why would you go upstairs and stay upstairs and be alone with this man again if you think this is going to happen again?
And you get the general point. Yes, what has been alleged goes against what he believes he knows about Robinson. It goes against his public image. But the allegations are not subject to opinions of the unrelated or popularity of the accused. Although Kennedy sought an audience in the court of public opinion, you, me, everyone else, it is not the court which will ultimately decide Robinson's fate or whether law enforcement, which will eventually file criminal charges. Smokey Robinson is going to have to ride this out all by himself in an actual court. And I like to use Tawala as my foil, but he gets why. And although we've known each other for decades, and I mean decades, I don't need or expect him to produce a 40-minute video responding to accusations or allegations about me, heaven forbid, if it should ever happen. He couldn't possibly speak to them. I don't know why he's laughing out there in the hall, but that's okay. He doesn't know about the dirt I might have done, or I wouldn't know about his unless we were in the same room when it happened. And I don't mean that in a whole Hamilton sense, in the room where it happened. And that would make him an accomplice or an accessory if it were true. The burden of proof is on the accusers here, and I can absolutely respect Leon Isaac Kennedy's desire to speak up in support of his friend. I could even get his desire to try to poke holes in the accusers' cases, but he's really not helping. He's not privy to what Smokey Robinson did or did not do in whatever room. There is no talking Smokey out of this situation. What Kennedy is seemingly forgetting is that there will be discovery. There will be text messages. There will be revelations that not even Leon Isaac Kennedy will be able to defend. And he will look foolish despite his best intentions. And that's the lesson right here for you and me and the rest of us. Even the people you think you don't know on that level, and you never will. The accusers deserve their day in court to tell their story, and Smokey Robinson deserves his day to defend himself. Kennedy thinks he's helping, but here's the point. He's not. This just might blow up in his face, and it would have been completely avoidable, even though he may have done it with the best of intentions. Smokey Robinson will have to go through this storm in a legal sense by himself. So let's let the case play out. For KFI AM 640, I'm Mo Kelly.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.